Fans Beyond Wrestling, Denver, Colorado, the man, not the place. Main event time here at Robbing Peter. First time ever match between Donovan Dijak and Brian Cage. Brian Cage originally scheduled to team alongside Michael Elgin against the Hit Squad tonight. Instead, we just saw an incredible match between the American Wolves and the Hit Squad, and now Brian Cage has his biggest singles match in Beyond Wrestling. The first time that Brian Cage has ever headlined a Beyond Wrestling card as a singles competitor. And right now being joined by one half of the American Destroyers, Donovan Dijak's tag team partner, Mikey Webb.
Yeah, Dijak's been looking forward to this match, but all he's been talking about lately is Riddle. Riddle. So I don't know where he is as a mindset going to this match with Brian Cage. And you can't overlook a guy the size of Brian Cage.
Well, I mean, he said online at Facebook.com/Beyond Wrestling that he wants his hands on Riddle. He wants his hands on Riddle tomorrow. And if that means taking Cage out so that he can take his spot in that match tomorrow in Worcester, in Donovan Dijak's hometown, then so be it. But I mean, how can you be so sure of yourself against an opponent who is a complete freak in Brian Cage?
Well, I mean, Dijak's never lacked confidence, but I'm just hoping that his confidence doesn't get him carried away here and he looks past this guy, because this guy's an absolute freak.
Well, Donovan Dijak was undefeated in singles competition, and all competition, had not been pinned or submitted in Beyond Wrestling Ring at all Beyond Wrestling live events dating back to April of 2015. That all came to an end. The finals of Beyond Wrestling tournament for today. And a lot of people say that it's because he stretched himself too thin that particular day, not only entering himself to prove that he's the best singles wrestler in Beyond Wrestling, but also accepting the open challenge alongside yourself that was issued by the Hit Squad. And while you guys were victorious as a team, Donovan Dijak has not won a singles match since that day. He came up short against Brian Fury. He came up short against Kimberly. I personally think that if Donovan Dijak wants to get back on his winning ways, he doesn't need to be worried about Riddle. He needs to be worried about Brian Cage. Because if Brian Cage has his way tonight, he's going to see to it that Donovan Dijak does not compete tomorrow, not the other way around.
Yeah, I absolutely agree that he's got to focus tonight. I think you're right. I mean, the losses are piling up, and it seems to like really be getting to him, and he can't get that loss to Riddle out of his head.
But as a tag team, you guys are virtually invincible. I mean, even yourself, you know, leading the team of the New England Pro Wrestling Academy graduates tonight and coming up short against OI4K and Scarlett and Graves. I mean, do you think the best bet is to, you know, don't worry about your singles career, don't worry about representing the school, but for you guys to just focus on working together as a tag team, or is it a situation where you guys feel like you're set as a tag team, you feel you're infallible, so you want to improve on everything else?
Well, Dijak and I are literally best friends, and we both got huge career aspirations, so I understand that he's got to go out there and do his thing. And us together, we are unstoppable, because that's what happens when two best friends get together.
Well, of course, you were introduced into Beyond Wrestling because Donovan Dijak, with that #1 position as the ace of Beyond Wrestling, felt that there was nobody that he could trust, nobody that was going to be able to watch his back. And right now, it looks like he needs your help. I mean, Brian Cage, whatever he was billed at, come on, the guy's like 300 pounds.
Of pure muscle.
Of pure muscle. He's got less than 5% body fat. And he's fearless, which makes him so dangerous. Donovan Dijak, I mean, a competitor of his size, you don't normally see athletes moving around that way either. So, I mean, that's why this is such an intriguing matchup.
Yeah, for sure. I have never seen someone who can move around quite like Dijak. And then I'm watching what Brian Cage is doing to him right now, and it is simply unbelievable.
Donovan Dijak is a very strong competitor, as is Brian Cage. Donovan Dijak is taller, he's got a longer reach, and I think it's going to be Dijak's favor if he can try and stick and move for the time being. Use his long limbs to try and attack from a distance to try and weaken Brian Cage. And you would also think, okay, a wrestler the size of Brian Cage, this guy's going to gas out maybe 10, 15 minutes. No, this guy's a cardio freak too. He can go the distance, so I don't think that conditioning is going to play a factor in this match one iota.
No, it's really... Oh! Wow! I've never seen seen anyone manhandle someone like Dijak like that before.
Well, I think that was a new one on a Donovan Dijak's playbook. He might have been looking for a blockbuster, taking a page out of Biff Busick's playbook, and instead he was plucked out of midair and driven down by the Swolverine. You know, one of the things to me that's always a factor coming into a match like this, especially when Brian Cage competes on the East Coast, is whether fatigue is going to be a factor. Oh! He had a very difficult schedule getting here today. He's been up for 24 hours straight. And I mean, in order to stay in shape like that, you know he's going to be in the gym every day. You know that all of his meals have to be portioned and timed out perfectly. So the fact that he's able to accomplish everything he does as a professional wrestler, he's as successful as he is, and still compete in the world of bodybuilding. I mean, this guy is an anomaly as far as I'm concerned.
Non-stop work ethic, but that's a lot of things I see with Donovan Dijak too. I mean, the guy is constantly working. I mean, that is probably why this match is as even as it is.
Donovan Dijak stalking Brian Cage on the floor. And it could get ugly out there. Brian Cage stunned him with a kick to the midsection, rocked him with a punch to the face. Donovan Dijak, that's what I'm saying though, he's going to use his longer limbs to strike from a distance.
It's such a huge advantage that he has.
Donovan Dijak throwing Brian Cage back into the ring. Brian Cage looking to retreat, but the unique environment of Beyond Wrestling, fans surrounding the ring, there's not really many places that you have an option to go to.
And there he is referencing Matt Riddle again, saying, "You think this is about you?" And if I was down there, I think I'd tell him, "Dijak, you gotta focus. Brian Cage is the guy tonight."
Well, I certainly appreciate your insight up here doing commentary from the balcony. We've got the best seat in the house. We appreciate all the fans that check out our shows at youtube.com/BeyondDemand, but there's nothing like being there live. And I wonder if Donovan Dijak was able to knock the wind out of Brian Cage, or Brian Cage is just so thickly muscled if he's going to have to hit him somehow even harder. I don't know how you hit somebody harder than that, though. Donovan Dijak, he's got his eyes set, and now trying to target the neck, which isn't the worst strategy, because if you do damage to the neck, you can sap some of the strength out of all the extremities, not just the legs, but the arms as well.
And he needs to sap the strength out of Brian Cage, for sure.
Oh, if this gets into a situation where Brian Cage can throw Donovan Dijak around, Dijak's going to be in, well, but instead it's Dijak taking a page out of Brian Cage's playbook. But given the size difference, how much did that take out of Donovan Dijak?
I mean, a lot.
He looks exhausted right now, and he didn't even get hit with that maneuver. He was the one performing it.
Brian Cage is a big man, and Dijak knows that.
Sometimes when you grind your elbow into the nose and the eyes of your opponent, pin like that, it's not going to give you any better leverage, but it makes it harder for your opponent to breathe. Their eyes start to water, makes them harder to see. Of course, Donovan Dijak does not have an announced match tomorrow in Worcester, Massachusetts. Would you prefer to see him against Riddle, or do you want to team with him?
I mean, I always want to team with him, but I got to support him. But he needs to focus right now, or he's not going to be ready for any match tomorrow.
Unbelievable extension and elevation. And never mind the long limbs of Donovan Dijak. Brian Cage just stopped him in his tracks with a drop kick. Oh! But that could have been the knockout shot. Right into the cover. 1, 2. Cage in the nick of time able to get the shoulder off the mat. Donovan Dijak. Desperate times call for desperate measures. We've seen him connect with a top rope moonsault. He's thinking better of it. But is he taking too much time making that decision?
I mean, this is Dijak's advantage, though, going to the top rope, doing things that guys his size can't typically do.
Well, you would think so, but Brian Cage is probably on a short list of guys his size that can. Oh! What was that, a sky twister press? A corkscrew moonsault? I don't even know what you call that. Look at the calf kick out of Brian Cage. I think he might have been playing possum, and now Dijak is paying dearly for it. Telegraph the back body drop. Oh, again the extension. And the release German suplex. Your boy's getting beat up right now. Dropped him right on his head, hooks the leg, great coverage on the lateral press.
That was close, that was close.
You know, for a long period of time, I always thought that Donovan Dijak, especially his early days in Beyond Wrestling, reminded me of the Terminator, but Brian Cage is a machine. No hands! All impact on Donovan Dijak, and Art at the Armory has come unglued.
How does a man that size do that?
I don't know how a man any size is able to do that, so. Again, Brian Cage, just an anomaly. Donovan Dijak set up on the apron. He's not safe there. As Brian Cage is going to be looking to elevate him from the second rope, perhaps even a stalling superplex from that position into the ring.
There's no way, he's too big.
Does Dijak have it scouted? Full extension and everything. Dijak colliding in the center of the ring. Doesn't get much closer than that, Mikey Webb. You know what the thing about Brian Cage is that he's got so many tricks up his sleeves that he's just getting started.
What else has he got? What else could he do to Dijak right now?
Oh, was looking for a big elbow drop. That did not happen. And Donovan Dijak.
There's the elbow drop.
3 stories in the air and he still couldn't get the job done. Out of control.
I think Dijak has to stay on him right now. We can't let this guy breathe.
Well, is Donovan Dijak weakened him enough to connect with the Feast Your Eyes? We've seen Brian Cage sometimes utilize the discus lariat, sometimes Weapon X, sometimes an avalanche style maneuver.
Dijak's gonna do this, he can't waste time.
Oh, was looking for a corkscrew senton, like you said, while trying to find his fitting, took too much time. And as Brian Cage was looking to get his shit in, he missed. Donovan Dijak missing the mark, but so did Brian Cage. And that time he lands it. 1, 2, 3.
Well, you wonder what kind of damage was done, not only hitting that maneuver, but missing it so many times.
As we approach the 13-minute mark, these two look like they've been going the distance. You gotta think there's not much gas left in either of their tanks. And now perhaps it's time for Brian Cage to feast his eyes on Donovan Dijak's knee.
I think that's where Dijak's got to go right now. He's got to stop messing around.
Is this a smart strategy to let Brian Cage get up on his own accord, or do you expend the energy to bring him to a vertical base? Obviously, that backfired.
You can't let him breathe. You can't let him breathe.
There's the discus lariat! Donovan Dijak taking off his feet, nowhere near the ropes. Webb, you gotta be beside yourself right now.
I've never seen Dijak make that many mistakes and let his opponent breathe so much. And Brian Cage is taking advantage of every moment.
I'm telling you, man, right now, he might as well be in a 2-on-1 match against not only Brian Cage, but Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle, not even here tonight, is in Donovan Dijak's head. And Brian Cage was looking for Weapon X. Dijak slips off. If he can connect with it, it's over. Feast your eyes! 1, 2, 3, no!
He's got to get him up. He's got to hit it again.
Again, when you've got two athletes this size, it doesn't surprise me to see somebody over by the ropes. When you're Donovan Dijak, you kind of wonder, Do we take the extra couple seconds to pull away? Do you go right for the pin? He hooked the inside leg instead of the outside one. That could have been a fatal mistake for Donovan Dijak. Donovan Dijak again saying this isn't about you. It is about him. You're in the ring with him right now, man. What's this? I've never. I think Donovan Dijak's trying to apply the twister. I mean, Donovan Dijak, as gifted as he is, he's not an MMA fighter.
This is a clear statement he's trying to make with Matt Riddle.
Well, if he can defeat Brian Cage here tonight with Matthew Riddle's submission finisher, that twister, look, he couldn't even get the leg lock. And they don't even look like legs. They look like telephone poles, maybe even thicker than that. Instead, Brian Cage, he was just flat on the back, and now he's got his opponent on his shoulders. Hit him with the F5.
He's not Matt Riddle, he's Donovan Dijak. He's got to remember that.
The discus lariat misses the mark. The super kick does not. Dijak's going to try and tough it out. Instead of taking Cage down, Cage rebounded off the ropes. Donovan Dijak looking for the go to sleep. Instead, he ate a knee of his own. The Steiner screwdriver, come on! Wow! What is happening with Donovan Dijak? Webb, I'll let you get down there if you want to check on Donovan Dijak.
Yeah, I'm gonna go.
He just got his neck cranked. And even with Brian Cage's accomplishments all throughout professional wrestling, the independent scene, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, and Lucha Underground, I don't think anybody expected him to pull off what has to be considered an upset against Donovan Dijak, who has now lost his last 3 consecutive singles encounters. Excuse me, make that 4 to Matthew Riddle, Brian Fury, Kimberly, and now Brian Cage in a Beyond Wrestling ring.